Thank you and welcome to the show this morning. The topic this morning, excuse me, is Cuba. And we're fortunate to have with us to talk about Cuba, Dr. LMadu2NEW. And I think the audience recognizes Dr. LMadu2NEW from the many shows that we've had with him, dealing not only with South America, but with the Middle East, with Africa, and with almost every continent. In a real sense, Dr. LMadu2NEW, I think, explaining the kind of information and the kind of influence that you bring to our discussions here. Mm-hmm. And I'm glad to have you here this morning to talk about Cuba, because this was one of the first of the colonies. And let's talk about it. Let's have you give us some information about it, background information, and then get into the topic of Cuba itself.
Well, everybody understands that Cuba, was a former Spanish colony. We remember the Spanish-American War and, what happened, how Cuba, became independent, up to the revolution, up to the treaty, the Guantanamo Bay Treaty and all that. In order to understand, Cuba today, one has to go on what I might call three levels. Mm-hmm. One is from 1959, when Fidel Castro overthrew Fulgencio Batista, mm-hmm. till 1990, when 1991, when Gorbachev started his perestroika in Russia and communism collapsed. Mm-hmm. Then from 1991 to 2008, when after the Cold War, and Fidel became sick, handed over to his brother. His brother took over from 2008 February effectively as president, till now. So these are the three
stages.
Exactly, mm-hmm. that one can look at, what is happening in Cuba, mm-hmm. up to today. Prior to, the Cuban Revolution, mm-hmm. everyone understood there was a lot of American influence in Cuba. A lot of the companies in Cuba were owned by Americans. A lot of the corporations and businesses, casinos, etc., etc. In fact, Havana was in Miami, mm-hmm. At that time of the Caribbean, where most of the casinos were located. So here comes Fidel Castro in 1959 and overthrew the so-called corrupt dictatorial government of Fulgencio Batista. Initially, people thought that the Cuban Revolution would follow the capitalist path. Okay. But however, most people didn't understand the thinking of most of the Cuban revolutionaries, particularly Raúl, mm-hmm. who is the current president. In fact, Raúl Castro was the main communist amongst the revolutionaries, not even Fidel himself. In fact, history says that, Fidel was influenced by his own junior brother, Raúl Castro, who was already a member of the Communist Party when the revolution started. And as you well know, this revolution was sparked, because of the dictatorship of Fulgencio Batista. People were being arrested, jailed, civil rights, was human and civil rights were being violated, etc., etc. And of course, like all revolutions, these were few people, started. About 5 or 6 of them, really. You have Fidel Castro, mm-hmm. you have Raúl Castro, his brother, you have Che Guevara, the Argentine medical doctor, you have Huba Mato, was Commandant Huba Mato, and then one of the most charismatic of all of them, who Camilo Cienfuegos, who died in a mysterious plane crash some time ago. You have 5 of them plus the highest ranking black amongst them, called Juan Almeida, Major Juan Almeida. He just died 2 years ago. Mm-hmm. You are just a group of them who started the revolution. When they came to power, like I said, they appointed some figureheads known to the Americans, to make the American government feel comfortable. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, Fidel Castro and his brother and the rest wanted a socialist, mm-hmm. Cuba, where unemployment will be a thing of the past, racial discrimination will be a thing of the past, free health care, free education, and you name it. And because of the, path they chose, they fell, out of favor with the Eisenhower, government administration.
What we're going to have to do during this first segment, we're going to have to take our first break. And after we come back, we can pick up at that particular point. But it's time for us to take this first commercial break. And we'll be back with our audience following this very, very short commercial break.
Don't be an Ebenezer Scrooge. Get in the holiday spirit at Dickens.
Talking to Dr. LMadu2NEW,